Casual Magic has been brought to you by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can get cool stuff. Use the code CASUAL to get 5% off of your sale. And then also by Coalesce Apparel, where you can get really cool t-shirts and stuff, and use the code Casual Magic to get 10% off your sale. And by Architect, a deck hosting website that doesn't really sell anything, but they like me and I like them, so kindly use them. And now, on to the show. Hello and welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of Magic the Gathering. My name is Shivam Bhatt, and Casual Magic is brought to you by Cool Stuff Inc., Coalesce Apparel, and Architect. And today, I have a dear friend of mine who I've only ever been able to talk to on Twitter because, time zones and the ocean and countries. My friend Sahar Mirhadi, who's a well-known legacy player from Europe and England. I guess, England and then once upon a time Europe, but, R.I.P. Boris Johnson. Yeah. Well, maybe not P. Maybe just die.
Just rip. Just general rip.
Just go away, Boris Johnson and friends. Boy, Magic was a lot easier when you guys could just go anywhere with a passport, right? I mean, of course, it's pre-pandemic time, so who even knows anymore? But yeah, Sahar's an academician and a student of Magic, and also just really cool legacy player. And I love reading a post about like tournaments and places I'm never going to go to, playing decks I don't play or can't afford. But one of the secrets is that even though I talk about Commander all the time, Legacy is like one of my secret favorite formats to just watch and enjoy. So I'm super stoked to have a person who is known for that format here. Hello, friend. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here.
It's so cool.
I think I remember when I started playing Magic, and I knew you from playing Commander, from Commander-in days.
Oh gosh! Goodness gracious!
I've known about you for a long time, and then we started chatting, and then obviously I kind of picked up Legacy, and then you were like, "Oh, I love elves," and I'm like, I love elves. I'm not playing it because it's really expensive. But
it turns out 4 cradles.
I have a friend who has 4 cradles and 4 foil cradles because all he plays is elves.
If you're gonna do a thing, do it right. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Do it with flair and style, although I would say that the elves deck currently is turning into like a Knit-Thick deck, which is sort of like a green, black, rock deck, and
so weird.
There's no elves. All the elves have gone.
It's like Affinity, right? Like Affinity has no Affinity cards in it. There's like nobody's playing Affinity. They're just playing pile of good artifacts, but it doesn't have a catchy name, so we still call it Affinity.
Exactly. One thing I like about the Legacy format, and I remember picking it up, just the names of decks. Like, gone are the days where even now with certain decks, they're just like the color mid-range or the color control or the color aggro. And I love the idea of cephalid breakfast and strawberry shortcake and tin fins and Spanish Inquisition and just
check pile.
Something piled. Someone's name pile is usually the way we used to do it, and it just makes life 5 times easier when you say it. And it's
sure, it does. Yeah, tin fins. I've been playing Magic for 30 years. I have no idea what tin fins is.
Tin fins is a Grizzlebrand Children of Corliss combo deck.
Of course it is. Of course it is. What else would it be?
The only one I actually like and I use regularly now is Nick Fit, because it's nice fit because of Veteran Explorer and Cabal Therapy. And I was like, oh, that's good. I like that. I can get behind that one. The rest of them...
Wait, what do you mean? Why does that work?
Because they combo well together.
Oh, they're a nice fit with each other.
Exactly. That's why it's called Nick Fit.
Veteran Explorer is such a good card. I love that card.
I play it in Commander. It's
fantastic.
People forget that card exists in Commander. I'm like, guys, with peace and love, can you play Veteran Explorer in your decks? I have a 4-color Kineas and Tira of Miletus deck. I put that in. I was like, I want landfall stuff. I can make landfall whatever I want.
Yeah, seriously. I think people always look at Veteran Explorer, which is the 1-drop 1/1. It says when it dies, each player can search their library for up to 2 basics and put them into play. And a lot of people look at this and like, why would I want to give them basics? I'm like, bro, this is Commander. How many basics do you think they're playing? Like, really?
That is
They're
so
going to be lucky if
true.
they have 2 basics.
Yeah, I my 4-color deck has 8 because I have 2 of each, and occasionally I've definitely cast Veteran Explorer on, like, turn, like, 17 and gone
For nothing.
for just gone shuffle.
Yeah, it's like, because I need a 1 drop on turn 18 of a Commander game.
Well, it's like when you draw, like, turn 10 Soul Ring, you're like,
Oh, yeah.
it's just like, "Thanks,
Great.
Soul Ring. I have more mana than God, but I don't."
Right?
No, for
Oh
me,
my god.
the way I like to play so I played Commander, I think my sort of Magic journey, so kind of bring a sort of history
Yeah,
of
hit
who I
me.
am. So, I started playing Magic, in 2014, so Journey into Nyx was my first set.
What a terrible set to start with.
I know, right? It was so well, that was my first set that I was introduced to Magic. My first
Mm.
pre-release was Battle for Zendikar, and I opened Gideon Ally of Zendikar in my pre-release pack, and I
Oh.
was like, "This card's
Oh.
incredible."
Yeah, it is.
It was so good,
So
and,
good.
it's so good. But before that, I remember moving into our first me and my husband moving into our first apartment, and we get locked out on the first day because I forgot to put the key.
Oh, no.
I forgot to take the key because it wasn't my house yet. But what I had in my backpack as a housewarming gift to us, like, for each other, was a box of Khans of Tarkir. So we
Oh.
just did half a box sealed outside while we're waiting for the locksmith. And I just played, green, red, and blue cards and had a lovely time. And then the other part of my deck was the Outlast deck, which I really loved as a mechanic. As like a new Magic player, Outlast was really
Oh
cool.
god, I wanted Outlast to be so good. It's like everything I want. I loved playing Abzan, but god, making it sorcery speed is the worst damn decision they ever made.
It
That is
literally
so
just make it instant speed. Now
it's
it is
so
instant speed.
unplayable now.
It's I know, I want it to be good, and
Oh,
I just Counter Tarkir's got a special space in my heart. I mean, yes, BFC Battle for Zendikar was my first pre-release, but Counter Tarkir is when I
wait,
was like
was Khans ba
before it was
there's
before
no way
Battle.
Battles was before Khans of Tarkir.
Was it? Was it? Hold on,
No,
now
that's not true at all.
that's
Battle
not
for
true.
Zendikar was like Khans of
Oh,
Tarkir
but
was off of Theros.
oh yeah, you're right. Hold on. So Khans of Tarkir. So let's look it
I'm
up.
like there's like a good chunk of time between those 2.
So I think yeah, so okay, so I okay, so let's get this right. I'll let me so yes, my first pre-release was
Oh,
Battle
Battle
for
for
Zendikar.
Zendikar was after Cons is what it was. It was the set immediately following that year
Yeah, I
because
think
it was
so.
Origins, then BFC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so BFC was my first set, like, that I went to a local game store, and I remember going to our local game store in London, and we were like, "Oh, let's," the second or third time, "Oh, let's play," someone said, "Oh, let's play Commander. What can you play?" And I remember sitting with one of our friends, Graham, and he was like, sat down. There was 4 of us playing, and he plays Moat and Humility. That was my first experience of playing Commander.
Get wrecked. Get wrecked.
Absolutely wrecked.
Okay.
And that deck is incredible. That's it. Yeah, he has a Janara deck that's basically um
Oh, Janara is one of my favorites,
oh,
man.
it's
That's
so
a
good.
card.
It's so good, but
People totally underestimate that card because it's just
it's
old and kind of
busted.
boring.
It's
But
busted.
God, I love Janara.
I know. And I 100% was just hooked. And we also had I don't know if you've ever done this, but I know some play groups have done this where we have plane chase. We used to do plane chase quite a
Oh yeah.
lot. But we used to have a shenanigans deck, which were just like world enchantments that you could, similar to plane chase, roll for, and then it would have the same thing as plane chase. So you'd have the roll and you'd have to roll off it. So you'd roll how many turns you were on it. So there was both good world enchantments and bad world enchantments and things that happened across the whole play group. So we used to have that. It was so we used to call
That
shenanigans.
sounds sweet.
It was so we used to play shenanigans plane chase.
Your games last 4.5 hours.
They genuine. I think one game lasted 7 hours. It's so
Man,
long.
playing Chase Commander is my favorite way to play,
Oh, I
but
love it.
holy crap, does it take the day.
Yeah,
right?
literally. You have nothing to do today. That
Oh,
is
yeah,
what you are
we
doing
are on
today.
goat plane, and we're getting 3 goats a turn, and that is what's happening for the next hour.
It's no, it's when you finally fall on, is it like, I think it was Wrath where everything was like double damage. I was like, okay, all right, let's go, guys. Let's shake some stuff out and let's start doing everything. And I was oh, I loved it, but it was amazing. But yeah, on the Commander thing. So I started playing Commander first, and then 2017 I started playing competitive Magic. Kind of as a bit. A friend of mine was my friend said, "Oh, you should try and play a sort of competitive event." I was like, "Okay." And so I picked up Modern Burn back when it
That's
was that deck, loved it. And and then I sort of got hooked on competitive Magic for a while, and was
back when I
playing.
mean, that was, like, the height, man. That was a really good
Oh,
time to be into competitive Magic.
it was really good fun. And I was playing Modern, playing Burn, play oh I talk every time I get the opportunity to say this out loud, is when I think it was 2018 when it was Burn and Death Shadow, the Grixis Death Shadow deck with
Mm.
like Stubborn Denials and Team of Battle Rage. Just playing that matchup with as a Burn player and
Oh,
as the GDS player, we were both just, oh, this is gonna be so much fun. We
yeah.
were so,
Who's gonna kill me first, me or
just
you?
just like I just go land go. I would go land go for like 8 turns and be like, I just do the thing where I just be like, head step Boros charm you, summoned it. I'm like, oh, cool. Let's start again. And those, I remember GP. I think it might have been GP Bilbao 2019, and I was playing a side event, and we were both 2-1, and I sat down against my opponent, and I go land Goblin Guide, and he's like,
Scoop?
not scoop, but he was sort of like, okay, this is what we're doing. And I was like, I don't know what you mean. And then all of a sudden he goes, uh, land Fort Scour. I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to start playing Magic. And I adored that deck. And
God, I
then
love Modern so much. Oh,
Modern then.
well, yeah, good Modern, before Modern pre-Horizons Modern.
well,
Pre-Horizons Modern was good
yeah,
time.
I would say pre-Horizon. So my falling out of love with Modern came. So after I played Burn for a bit, I played Tron just to mess with people. From going from Burn to Tron, just went straight, just in a full 180 from
Dude,
Burn
I
to.
Tron, people hate Tron,
I
but
love
as a
Tron.
guy who's loved Ramp since 1994,
Oh,
Tron is my happy place. I just wanna
yeah,
play big dumb idiots, come
I do
out and
too.
just be like, "Look, Worm Coil,
Yeah,
your turn."
exactly. Calm. 1 + 1 + 1 = 7.
You know,
Um,
the way we
this,
wrote it up in antiquities still works today.
I oh I actually, on that note, I will bring up a point that I think Emma Partlow on Twitter brought up, is that new Urza
Mm,
for Brothers War has a 7 mana activation cost.
he does. He
And
sure
1
does.
+ 1 + 1 = 7. I will be really surprised if the Tron lands
Can
are
you
printed.
imagine?
I
Can
would
you
I
imagine
would literally sleeve up a standard deck and jam blue white Tron every day of the week, because
Yeah,
that
but
would be
how
incredible.
how ridiculous would I mean, think about what happens if that happens, right? We will have a standard that has Delver, Liliana of the Veil, Tronlance? What
Oh.
the hell is going on?
Oh, it's like old magic in my bones.
What is
Old
going
magic.
on? What is this ridiculous?
It's
Um,
amazing is what it is.
oh my
So
god.
that is that if it happens, amazing. I will play it, I will play it to the
I hope
absolute
we get
hilt.
instead, like, Mishra's Tower, like, give me different Tronlands, like,
Oh, I mean, I hope that, yeah, I mean, maybe it's just a coincidence, but I hope that it is something like that
oh,
happens.
it's 100% not a coincidence. They did that on purpose, absolutely,
Yeah.
because, like, WotC cares about that sort of thing,
Yeah.
but I mean, mind you, I would have said they would have never printed Liliana back into standard before, and here we are, but,
Yeah.
getting Tron in I don't think they wanna put Tron into Pioneer, right? Like, I think
Yeah.
I
mono
think that's a
green will be the best deck.
terrible idea.
Yeah, just like, "Oh, there's the best deck in Pioneer is a ramp deck. Oh, we're gonna give it Tron lands." Okay, maybe not.
Yeah,
It's that is a no bueno.
yeah,
Um,
that's a bad scene for every I mean,
that is some
but
bad.
mind you, for that week and a half before it gets banned, it would be glorious.
I would have so much fun. I would have all the fun. But I would have all the fun. So I played Tron for a while, and then I decided to go back to Red by playing Scapeshift, and went to
Scapeshift is, like, my favorite deck of
it's
all time.
Titan Shift. I played Titan Shift, so red green, like old
Yeah,
school red
that's the
green.
way you're supposed to do it.
That's the way you're supposed to play, not this 3-4 color nonsense.
No, no, no,
Um,
no, 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 no. We play the good way.
yeah, I want exploring to Steve into I actually remember the first time someone actually a very good friend of mine, I when I first met him, I started playing competitive Magic, and I played against him at one of my first GPs in I think it was GP Birmingham, and we were playing a side event, and I was playing Burn, and I was still kind of understanding all the decks, and he scape shift me, and he was like, You're dead." I'm like, "I don't know how." He's like he's like, "What do you mean you don't know how?" I'm like, "I genuinely don't know what's happening." So he just has to explain it to me, but like sort of half mansplains it,
Oh,
and
jeez.
I'm like, "Okay,
Bro,
I'm not
just
gonna
put the cards on the table
just
and
put
show
the 2
me.
cards." Yeah, exactly, and I was just really confused. He's now one of my closest friends now because we kinda went past that, but initially, I told his, new girlfriend at the time, that this happened, and I was like, "Let it be known he is a much nicer human being, now than when I first met him." But yeah, so I played Scape Shift for a long time, absolutely adored it.
God, Scapeshift was one of the first decks I mean, it's funny, like, I bought into that deck, like, I got
Yeah,
my Crucibles, I got my Scapeshifts, I got, like, because dropping a Volakut and then getting 7 mountains or whatever out, just, like, that is so cool. It
it's
feels so like, when
I
you
feel
do
so
it
powerful. I feel so
yeah.
powerful.
The first time I saw somebody play Scapeshift, I was like, "This is the cleverest damn deck I've ever seen in my life. I love everything about this. Oh my god." Because
I
land are my favorite part of Magic.
Yeah,
So
I mine
Scapeshift
are
is just
too.
like, "I kill you with my lands," and I'm like,
Literally,
"Yes, let's go."
just kill you all, just like filling
Oh,
them all.
so
My f
clean.
I I remember the first time I played Valakut at a competitive tournament, I had to ask the judge what color of damage the damage
Mm.
what color the damage is because of Etch Champion, because 'cause I'm playing Affinity versus Shapeshift, and I was like, "Can I kill this Etch Champion?" And I called the judge, and he's like,
That
it is colorless mana, so you can do it."
I
And
mean, that's a reasonable judge call, though.
no,
I
I
totally
do
support
too.
that. Because like, sometimes you get into positions in Magic where it's just like, "I don't know how this works."
I'm
This
not aware.
There are like, I've read the rules, I understand, but there is something happening here, and it is like 7 layers deep. Can you please just walk me like, for
Ugh.
instance, correction for all you guys who listened to me 2 weeks ago, I talked about my Nira deck that I've been building with my friend Drew, and we mentioned flashback spells. Nira, of
Mm.
course, said when you cast a spell, you can instead bottom it and then flip over the top spell and play it for free or something like that.
Oh, very nice.
Some kind of cascading type thing. What I made mistake was I was like, "Oh, you flashback a spell and then you can just bottom it with a replacement effect from Nira." That's not how it works. When you flashback a spell, it goes on the stack, it evaporates, and then you can still get Nira trigger off it. You're just not going to get another bite off that apple.
Oh.
And that was a thing that I had to call a judge for. Of course, the judges I know are like Sheldon Menery. So
Yeah,
it's literally
the
the
OG
judge,
judge. It's
right?
like an OG just like, please,
Yeah,
kind judge, can
right.
you
I
please
go to
relay your wisdom unto me?"
Yeah, like, I went to Toby Elliott, I'm like, "You wrote these rules. Can you tell me how to read these
Yeah,
rules?"
can you please elucidate me on these
Yeah.
rules?
No,
Uh,
thank you to Charlotte, the judge of the CAG who helped walk me through this and, make me unbreak my decisions.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. But I was playing Scape Shift for a long time, and then 2019 came, and 2019 was a big old year for me. So it was the year where, in terms of life decisions, I quit my job after working 12 years in sales and marketing.
Mm.
I got was due to get married and was I basically was like, you know what, I'm gonna reset my life and sort of start again. But I was playing competitive Magic still, and I was like, well, I'm gonna just keep playing competitive Magic. And then Hogak gets printed,
Oh,
and
the summer of Hogak. Ah.
Hogak Summer genuinely killed every bit of love I had for competitive Magic. It was
Boy, that was a mess, man.
it was an absolute mess. I genuinely could not play Scape Shift. I couldn't play anything in that modern apart from Hogak. And I had friends who were, you know, doing really well with Hogak. I never could get my head around it. My husband is a avid dredge connoisseur, plays
The
dredge in
first time I
everything.
saw somebody play the full Hogak combo, and I watched it, and I'm like, "This is this is the biggest sack of crap I've ever seen in my life. This is like some kind of chicanery going on. This
Yeah,
feels illegal. This
yeah,
feels like you're not allowed to do like it's an elegant deck. It's a sweet deck, but
yeah.
holy crap,
Why
do
does
you
it have
feel
trample?
cheated? Do
Yeah.
you feel cheated when you play against Hogak?
Why does it have trample? Just I
Why?"
why does it have trample? That's the only bit now that kind of gets my goat to bit is why it has that trample. But that's where it sort of for me, it sort of killed my love of um competitive Magic for a long time. But that is also the same GP Birmingham 2019, 10 days before I was due to get married. I met up with a friend at a side event and he said, "You don't want to play modern, why don't you play legacy?" And I said,
Your bachelorette party is a GP?
yeah, well, no, I didn't know. So no, it was just my bachelorette party was actually in London and we had a lovely time.
Okay, well, good, but I was
But
gonna
this was
say, I'm
no,
like
that was but I sort of I wanted like I wanted like a big event before I went,
sure.
before I went and got married. So went to GP Birmingham, had a lovely time. But I remember my friend Theo saying to me, "Why don't you pick up Legacy? And I'll lend you cards." And I knew I was very fortunate that well-known Legacy player Callum Smith um, is quite. They're quite gracious with lending cards, and I said, "Oh, maybe I'll try it." And I picked up Nick Fit, as you do. I tried it and I loved it. And I remember going, okay, well let's give this format a go. And my friend said, I said, what should I play? Because I was like, well, I like red cards. Like my favorite color in Magic is red. Yeah, it goes red, Gruul Clan, and then Rug. These are my. That's how I go. But I remember saying to the sort of friends I knew from Legacy, what should I play? And they say you should play Delver, because Delver is the deck that will teach you the rest of the format and will have the biggest on ramping of knowledge and the way you play Magic, um, while still doing very powerful things. And I was like, I haven't played a tempo style strategy ever. I haven't really played with blue cards in my competitive life. Let's give it a go. And I absolutely was hooked. I was also playing that time. Red and Six and Oko was still Lego and Legacy. So I
Oh,
was playing Rug Delver
oh,
and having the time of my life.
god, Rug Delver with Oko and Ren and Six sounds disgusting.
I
That
played
sounds
one
disgusting.
I played one tournament with it and I basically felt unbeatable. Uh And so I picked it up and I at the same time started a master's in coaching and psychology and was like, I'm gonna play Legacy. This is amazing. I'm gonna play Legacy. GP Bologna was happening. We'll get to GP Bologna in a second. And I went to GP and I was like, I fell in love with it. I absolutely fell in love with it. And 10 days before GP Bologna, Red and Six got banned. So
Yeah.
we're just like, I'm just like, oh god, it's 10 days. What am I gonna do? Put a silver library and put a fire ice in, we're good.
I
And
mean, that you can go worse. Like,
exactly, you can
that's
go way
all.
worse. So we then go to GP Bologna, and I'm expecting nothing. Not expecting anything. I've been playing the format 2 months. I go undefeated in day 1.
What? What?
I
At a
am
Legacy GP?
at a legacy GP. I go 9 and
That's
1.
wild.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It
Legacy
is
is not an easy format. There's some BS decks in there, and the thing is, the people who play Legacy have been playing Legacy. Legacy is what
forever.
they do
Yeah.
forever, since time immemorial. They've been playing they're like, "I cracked these decks in 4th grade. These are the cards I'm playing. That is the end of the story." And it's like, it's it's hard to go undefeated at a Legacy GP,
Yeah.
And, like, when your deck get pulled out from underneath you, that's even worse. But again,
It's
Sylvan Library is not a weak card.
no, no.
Like, Fire
Collector
Ice is
Roof
not a weak card.
Collector Roof and, Veil of Summer did a lot of work that day.
Oh, Collector, oof,
Oh,
god,
I had a sideboard Vapor Snag because I wanted an out to depths, um, for Marit Lage, and so
oh
the
god, I would play Lands and Legacy if I could, but
I have a
the deck is so expensive.
It is so I have friends who own it, so occasionally I actually have a 12 post, I have like
Mm,
a 12 post deck downstairs, which my friend was going to Canada to see his family, and he was like, "I don't want my 12 post deck with my tabernacle at my flat.
sure
If
don't.
it is at your house, then I know it's safe." And I was like, "Sure, I'll keep hold of your tabernacle."
Ah,
So I'm
yes.
just gonna
Like Legacy, where you can't put your decks in your quiver, you put your quiver in the safe.
Pretty
Like,
much, pretty much. But yeah, so I 9 day
holy
one.
crap.
And then we went 06 day 2. Uh,
Ooh,
so
oof.
yeah, it was a full. Well, so the way that I knew that the second day was not to be is I played the first. So it was the GP was the way that you played the first round of day 2 on day 1. So you played round 9 in
Mm,
day 1. So I remember doing that. I'll come back to that story in a minute. But I played round 10 and I played against a guy who came second at the event and was the originator of what became Snowco. So
mm.
the Astrolabe, um,
Oh god, Astrolabe,
Oak,
man.
basically the Astrolabe deck, and playing like Meekstone and Childish Trackers and Ice Fan Coatls and Baleful
Oof.
Strixes, and all the value that was accrued. And I never felt so out of my depth playing a game of Magic in my entire Magic career than playing those 3 games against Tristan Potzel.
Well, yeah, but I
And
mean, the first time you run into a deck that's a brand new archetype that somebody just come up with and it just houses you because
yeah,
you have like no idea. You're like, what am I looking at? Let alone
yeah,
what the hell is going on this table?
it was.
And
Yeah,
it blows my mind sometimes that like when you look at Modern Horizons, that like the most powerful cards were like Hogak and then Astrolabe and then Ren and Six. And I'm like, when your common random mana fixing artifact is the most powerful and has to be banned in like every format,
yeah.
what the hell are you doing?
Exactly, and I remember when I was playing at Legacy, and I remember playing on Magic Online because it's the only place we get to play Legacy online, even though it's not amazing to look at. Although hoping that Daybreak zhuzh it up a bit.
Yeah,
Uh,
we'll see. We'll see.
yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. Like with most Magic, I'm cautiously optimistic. But I remember my opponent went Basic Forest, Basic Plains, Basic Island, Astrolabe, Blood Moon,
Oh,
and I was playing Delver, and I was
yeah.
like,
No, you weren't anymore.
"No, cool game, cool." It's
GG's,
just
buddy.
GG, GGWPs, go home is what I say. So yeah, so that happened, but I think I have a couple of stories from GP Bologna that I always like to tell, and I think they're good stories for players to hear about. So I am in round 3. So I have a funny one and then an actual like sentimental one. And so I have a funny one. So I think I'm round 4. Yeah, I think I must have been round 4 or 5. So I'm like X and O. And I sit down and I'm against an Asian gentleman. I say, good luck. And he's like, okay, okay. And uh and he's playing, Shardless Agent and Baleful Strix, and and then it's like I beat him in 2 games. It's very simple. But I sort of say out loud in I think game 1, "Oh, it's nice to see Shardless Bug at the top tables,"
Mm,
because Shardless Bug had basically died.
yeah.
And I beat, Tarmogoyf does good work, and I proceed to beat my opponent 2-0. My friend who's standing behind me whispers in my ear, "Sahar, your opponent was playing Aloran. You never saw Aloran in 2 games. You must have sounded like a right idiot to your opponent." And I was like, "Oh,"
Oh.
because I had never seen an Aloran deck ever.
Oh, Lurin decks are
So
so much fun.
they're so much fun, but I never saw Allurin in 2 games. So for
Mm.
me, I just thought he was playing Baleful Strict, Cavern Harpy.
Well, I mean, that's what happens if you play an Allurin deck without Allurin, you're just gonna
Yeah,
have a bunch of crappy value creatures, just like
exactly. So I was really confused. I was
I
like,
mean, like, I don't know that they would've felt like you looked like an idiot as much as they thought you were being really condescending.
that's what I probably and I was and obviously being like a woman on the top tables, everyone's like, "Oh, this looks exciting. Let's have a see what's going on." Um, and just just already the top tables are gathered around me. So talking of top tables, I'm at round oh, it's the winning in for day 2, so it's round 8.
8?
So it is round 8. So I'm on the top table, humble brag, and they say deck check, and I say okay. So round 8, we're playing against a lovely gentleman playing Turbo Depths,
Mm.
and I
Oh,
they
that's a
say
deck
deck.
I love too.
I love that deck too. It's amazing. So, and it's a not an amazing matchup for Delver, and
Oh,
I'm like,
no.
oh, it's Brazen Borrower doing good work, and they go deck check, and I go deck check, and 10 minutes passes. Just chat to my opponent. My opponent's being a bit quiet. I'm just chatting to people around me while I'm waiting.
Got nothing better to
Uh,
do, we're here.
exactly. And they go, Sahar, can we see you? And I'm like, okay, what's happened?
No,
I
you
left.
can't.
I was like, well, like the judges go, can we see you? And I'm like, okay. And they they sit me down and they say, Sahar, we can see your delvers. And I just start crying because all the adrenaline from the day has just
Oh,
poured
no.
out. So I just start crying, thinking I'm going to get disqualified. I'm like, please, Judge, please don't disqualify me. I beg you. And I'm very emotional right now. So they go, can anyone? I said, where have you, you know? And I said, Judge, I re-sleeved my deck in my, emotional state. I received my deck the night before. We did the light test. We knew it was good. And they said, can anyone corroborate your story? So my friend Theo, who I was talking about earlier, he, I was like, he's playing for his winning in for day 2. So he's playing, not knowing my other friend was standing outside, obviously concerned that I was in the back. But I thought he dropped like 4 rounds previously. So I was like,
Mm.
so they go to Theo, who's playing Rector Fit. So playing Nick Fit, so playing Veteran
For with,
Explorer
like,
Nick
planeswalkers and stuff.
with playing well, yeah, well playing Academy Rector and
Mm.
playing Duffscape and Overwhelming Splendor.
Oh,
I love
which
it.
is
It's all foil as well. So it's beautiful to look at.
well, I mean,
Um,
dude, it's a legacy deck. Every legacy deck is, like, maxed out bling.
exactly. So they go corroborate with his story, and Theo, according to him, tells them our entire life story from leaving London to getting to Italy, which is then 15 minutes passes.
What
and
the
I
hell is going on?
and I'm still obviously crying to the French judge who's sitting next to me.
Who would just like, "Madame, please."
Please calm down. So half an hour has gone by this
And your
point.
opponent is just like, "What the hell
What
is
the hell has
happening?"
happened? Yeah, exactly. So they come back and they say, we corroborate your story. You will get a game loss
Eventually.
eventually. And you'll get a game loss and we have to give you basic lands for the check cards. And I said, okay, no worries. And I said, Judge, I'm obviously a big mess. I feel very emotional right now. Is it possible for me to go to the toilet and then come back? So I said, of course. But what I knew from the convention center, and I think everyone knows this, sort of inadverting when you go to GPs or when we did go to GPs, is that the toilets at Bologna were by the top tables. So I couldn't go through that because everyone would see how upset I was. So I walked to the other side of the convention center, go and wash my face, walk around the convention center,
Good gravy.
take an extra 5 minutes because I want to recompose myself, sit back down. 40 minutes has passed by this
The
point.
round is over.
The round is over. I sit down and they go, Sahar, you will get a game loss for I think I can't remember if it was mark cards or they could see something. I can't remember the exact ruling. You get a game loss. I then beat him 2-0 without
Wrecked.
sideboarding in game 2.
Get wrecked. Get wrecked.
Absolutely get wrecked. And the lesson in that, and I remember this lesson even now when I tilt or anything like that, is whatever happens, whatever adversity is put in front of you when you play Magic, if you just decompress, take time, it will be okay. And sometimes the heart of cards don't happen, but in that moment, it was probably the most. Um, I remember after that round, and I just felt absolutely unstoppable. I was like, it was incredible, and it that was probably the main highlight of that GP for me. I mean, there's funnier ones where I
Yeah,
float a brain. There's a funny one against Storm where I float a Veil of Summer from with Brainstorm for about 4 turns, and then they go to Tendrils me and a Veil of Summer, and they go,
that's not right. That's not right at all.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
That's
He had fought sees me two like three two previous turns, and I'd been floating this Veil of
if
Summer
I
for.
was that opponent, I would be so pissed.
He was a well-known Storm player as well, and my friends were like,
I'd be
"Oh
so
my."
tilted. I'd be like, "What do you
Exactly.
mean?
I think he was tilted.
Like,
I
I've
think
seen your whole hand. Where did that come from?"
it was so funny. So that for me was a major highlight,
Veil of
and
Summer. God damn that
I
card.
love that card. I love that card to my bones. Um, and yeah, so GP Bologna was a big thing for me, and then obviously that happened, and then I started playing. Obviously, Oko got banned, so I started playing Dreadhorde Arcanist, and then the pandemic happened. Yeah,
Try starting
and
a podcast right at the beginning of pandemic. That's a good
yeah,
time.
exactly. And I actually, I was chatting about this with a friend the other day, and I said, because I was a student, I was middle of my masters, and I was thinking, well, I don't have disposable income because I'm a student,
Mm.
so I had to just stop playing Legacy for about 18 months, and
Oh,
it Shivam, I don't know if you've ever I don't know if you've ever had, like, a big break. I mean, I was playing Commander and Cube and things like
sure.
that, and I was playing like, very
Look,
casual
I
Magic, but
stopped playing Magic around, like, the end of Visions and
yeah,
beginning of Weatherlight, and
mm,
then, like, I paid attention to it and stuff, but, like, my friends had stopped playing, and also I was a student in high
mm,
school and college and did not have money, and I was spending my money
yeah,
on D&D instead,
yeah,
and so what like, I didn't come back for about a decade
yeah.
until, end of Rise of Eldrazi / really coming back with Innistrad, but
Oh,
otherwise, yeah, like, I had a long time where I was like, "I wish I could play Magic," but
yeah,
I'm a student and poor, so and I was living in Japan and all these other things. It
yeah.
was just like it was not a
It
thing that was happening.
happens. It
Yeah.
happens, and I definitely felt, yeah, it was kinda heartbreaking a little bit to stop playing competitively for a while, and
I mean, to be
then
fair, everybody stopped playing competitively.
exactly, everyone stopped playing but just even playing Magic Online, I was like,
Mm.
"I can't even afford to play this," so that was that, and then I came back to it towards basically this time last year. I was like, "Maybe I should pick up Legacy again." I miss playing competitive Magic, and I miss playing Legacy, and I love the people, and Delver hadn't changed, unsurprisingly, the deck is still the same, and
Look,
it does.
Delver is one of those cards where it's just like, it came out, it became an archetype, and now it is just here forever, and
Yeah,
that's just what it is.
and
I
that's
mean,
fine.
you look at that card though, that card, like, I remember when I first saw it, I was like, "This doesn't look very fun at all." It's just a 1/1 and maybe flips over once in a while, and who cares? Because I don't play blue and I don't play
Yeah,
spells, and it's like, this is not a card that has any meaning to me. It's like the 3/3. Give me something big to hit you with. Where's my prime time, right? Like, and now I'm like, "Oh, actually, that card is just, like, hella powerful
yeah,
and one of the best 1 drops of all time,
it
and
is.
here we go."
Exactly, and I played, and I came back to it, and I played Delver, and I had the hero. I was talking about this with another Magic player of the. I picked up Delver, and I was sold the dream of Delver Wasteland Days. This was the dream I was sold of. When you play the mirror match, no one has any permanence. The first person to resolve the threat wins the game. That's what I was sold. And I picked up Delver again after my break, and Expressive Iteration had been printed, and
Oh,
Murktide
there's a
Region had
card.
been printed. Yeah, these cards were printed, and I felt myself slowly just not falling out of love with Delver, but I felt that my heuristics that I had learned when I picked up Legacy had changed. Well, the me and the deck had kind of were at odds of what our heuristics were and where
Mm,
we saw the deck being,
mm.
and I did a lot of leveling up towards the middle of this year, where I just wanted to understand. what it was about the deck, and I actually made the decision um in the summer to actually give the deck a bit of a break,
Mm.
because I just didn't like the mirror matches. They're really interesting, but it feels very much about who casts the most expressive iteration, who can stick a Murktide Reach on the board, and that to me wasn't.
Oh god, Murktide, I hate that card.
I love and hate it.
It's fine, it's just a body, but it's like it's so
It's so big.
boring.
It's
It's
so
just
big.
yeah, like somebody drops an 8/8 Murktide and you're like, "Well, that was fun for
Yeah,
someone, I guess."
exactly, and that's sort of how I felt, and for me as well, the one thing with the Legacy Delver deck, and, people can pan me on Twitter about this, is that it's fun, like, I do enjoy playing it, but it I felt a little bit as if everyone had a plan for me, and I didn't necessarily have a plan for everyone else.
Mm,
And as a player, as someone who in Magic now consumes a lot of content, wants to understand sort of the world and where I fit into it, that felt really at odds with me. And I'm trying to put a sideboard map together. I'm like, what do I want to be? And it's all this stuff. And a lot of players were like, we'll just play the good cards. And I was like, but people are doing well with the deck. Why aren't I doing well with the deck? And you just get to this conflict where you're like, I need to just put this down. And there are good Delver players out there. There's many good Delver players. Americans actually, for some reason, every competitive tournament I see in the US is very Delver heavy.
mm,
This is actually something, obviously talking about Legacy in Europe. Delver is played.
mm,
Unsurprisingly, it's the best deck in the format. It gets played, but it's not played to the amount that I see in something such as SCG cons or
mm,
something like the NRG series, which I've been following quite a lot,
sure.
as a sort of observer. And I find it fascinating. And I was speaking to some my friends from across the pond
Mm,
and saying, what is it? And they say, oh, it's the best deck. Why won't we just play the best deck? And I feel that in Europe, there is definitely a sense of players who play the cards that, similar to what you're saying, they've been playing since
yeah,
1995,
right?
and they
Like,
just have cards, especially Italians, because we have a
oh,
big
yeah.
Italian community, and they've been playing these cards forever, and they'll
They're like,
play the
"Look,
card.
I play High Tide, that's my deck, that's what I'm gonna do, end of story."
Exactly, and Four Color Loam is still played in
Mhm.
European tournaments, even though that deck has been so bad for about 5 years,
I mean,
and
but
it's still
look, like, I play Elves. Elves has been a tier 2 or tier 1.5 deck for a long time.
it's good.
There's a billion better things to do. Also, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
That's very much the sentiment of most legacy players. Like, "I don't care, I'm gonna play my deck, and I'm gonna like it." So, it definitely
I don't
felt
have
for
these
me.
beta Lana wars for myself, right? Like, they're not here for fun.
Very much so. And it's been interesting sort of, kind of seeing the differences in the way that people in the world play, from because one thing with Legacy now is that obviously we're not getting GPs. It's not.
You're
or
barely getting name recognition in ban announcements, let alone GPs.
I mean, okay, slight tangent on the BNR announcement. Um,
Legacy is
so
fine. Have fun. Bye.
Legacy, what? So ley line binding, when they mentioned ley line binding,
Oh
I
god,
just
that card is so stupid.
it's so good. But I
It's
was just
so
it's so good. But then the whole community were like, "Well, let's play ley line binding if it's so good," and thus perpetuating the fact that ley line binding is played in leagues because you're
ugh.
playing them because you want to be a meme. Um, I I so the one of the things that in the legacy community that's been sort of touted about is the legacy, similar to the pauper format panel, whether there should be a legacy format panel.
Hmm.
If it is not being,
Yeah, if
if it
WotC doesn't care, give it to us.
exactly, and my take on this has been, there is a very big balancing act that needs to happen between players who are specialists in their respective deck and being custodians of the format. Similar to I think you
Mm,
feel this with the CAG.
mm.
Um, there is it's you're laughing because it's nervous laughter.
Well,
Uh,
look, but here's the thing, and especially with it with eternal formats, one of the things we have to consider is A, when we who are on these advisory boards or whatever, who play the game, you're right. First off, there is this problem that, like, if you are a specialist in a deck, every time you see a card, you're seeing it through the lens of that deck. Like, it's
Exactly.
subconscious. You might not be intending to, but you might be like looking at a card and be like, oh, that would be great in my Brea deck. And then everybody else, like, this is completely broken in half in like every other deck and is ruining format. And you're like, yeah, but it lets my thing work. Like, I look at like for instance, here's an example: Dockside Extortionist, right?
Toxic
Dockside
magic.
Extortionist is, by any metric you want, a busted card. The question is, how busted is it, and where is it busted?
Yeah.
But like, if you look at me, like, I play at lower powered, lower tier tables where people don't have 35 artifacts on the table by turn three. So you're playing your Dockside, and you're getting maybe 2-3 treasures. If you're playing at a much higher tier where people are dropping Lotus Petals and Toll Rings and Mounted Vaults and Mana Crypts all turn one, then your Dockside turn two comes out and you get 17 treasures or something. Yeah, that's going to be busted. So it's a perspective shift. But when you're running an eternal format or advising or even looking at from custodial standpoint, you have to think about it not from that lens, but from what does this mean for every table up and down.
Yeah.
And that is a very hard skill to have. It's very, very difficult. And that's why there's so many of us on the CAG. People are like, man, there's so many of you and nothing happens. I'm like, no, you don't understand. What's happening is the things you're not seeing
Yeah.
that we're stopping from happening, or the slight, adjustments we're making to the format to help make sure that it stays that if you see no change, then that means we're doing our job, because that means the ship's
Mm.
going in the same direction.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if the ship flips over, that's a problem. We're all drowning. This
Yeah,
sucks.
we're all drowning. I mean, well, I was very excited. A Brit was on the CAG with Tim Willoughby. We're a big fan of
We
Tim
have
Willoughby.
two, actually.
Oh, no,
Kirsten,
Kirsten. Yes, I forgot about Kirsten. My apologies. Kirsten
she's
had two Brits.
yeah, she's
Um,
amazing. But yeah, Tim
she's
Willoughby is
amazing.
one of my he's the guy who got me into Commander. Like,
Oh,
he wrote an article once, and that article changed my life and introduced me to Commander, and I still play that deck. So
oh,
I'm
I'm.
having him on the format just like, oh, that's so cool. I'm such a fan.
He's a genuinely sound bloke.
Oh
To
yeah.
use a proper English phrase, sound bloke. He's lovely. I play it.
Yeah,
I've occasionally play at Rule Zero when I get a chance to do pre-release there. But yeah, but that's the legacy format panel discussion of it.
yeah,
And I feel like that the custodian element is one that I think the player base does understand. And I think there are people in the legacy community who do see it as that. And I think someone, I would say like Anurag Das,
yeah.
fellow beige man, a fellow beige man. But Anurag, and I think even like Brian Koval, and there are other,
Yeah.
and there'll be other
Anurag's
people.
articles are fantastic. I'm a
They
big
are
fan.
very good, and he is also a showman. He's
Well, yeah.
100% which I love.
But even
Um,
someone like Mengucci, who plays
yeah.
every legacy deck.
Oh, I love that man.
He's
Uh,
so he's both entertaining player, educational player, and very good. And so it's like, oh, this dude knows all the formats he plays
exactly.
cleanly. And I'm like, this guy is yeah, it's a shame nobody's tapping him for information. This dude knows everything. But yeah, I think one of the problems that Legacy has versus, say, Commander or like Pauper or something, is that Wizards is actively not making cards for your format. Like,
No.
one of the problems we have in Commander is that every card now is a Commander card, and every card is meant to upend our ship all the time. And so we have to look at all these cards and be like, okay, guys, maybe next set we can not have 45 treasures. How about less
How about
treasures? How about that? How about no treasures?
cons-
That would be good. Um,
consider no treasures in this?
yeah.
Well, but I would argue though that legacy players feel that way a little bit, even though there's not cards being made. The
Mm,
fact that supplemental products are eternal legal
mm,
means that every time we look at a new set, we're always looking for, well, what fell through the crack?
right.
What fell through? What is not meant
What
to be for
random
us?
commander card is suddenly the greatest card, or what is this
Mitskaboo!
monarch?
Yeah, monarchy, the initiative,
Yeah,
Mitskaboo. It's all these.
Minsk Boo is so broken in one-on-one formats. It is so absolutely I played it in Cube and I was like, this card can't be that. Oh my god, every turn that stupid 4/4? What the hell is going
Every
on?
turn, every turn.
It's so gross.
You play it in a control deck, and you just win the game.
It's
S
so
does it
gross.
It's so gross, I love it.
It's
Anorak
Ophiomancer plus plus, right? It's just disgusting.
exactly, it's amazing, and legacy players were 100% sold on that, and but that's the thing, so whilst, yes, I don't think there are cards made for us, we're always having to look to see what we are getting. Same with Unfinities, why the whole
Oh, yeah.
stickers,
Mengucci,
attraction.
so he posted that, like, he was at the SCG and
Yeah.
somebody pulled out a legacy deck with attractions in it, and I was like, "Oh, no. It's
Oh, no.
happening."
It's happening. But then I question, so, funny enough, Magic Twitter, quite animated when it wants to be, and,
Sure.
it's one way of putting it. I'm being polite to the Magic Twitter, and Magic Twitter was just up in arms, and everybody, but then players who weren't legacy players were like, "Well, legacy isn't a thing, so why are players getting angry about it?" And I was like, "Guys, just you, we have a right to complain, but I also I had to actually, the day that the Infinity big spoilers were being spoiled, I had to actually turn it off because I sort of felt that the legacy community was having a bit of a temper tantrum.
Mhm.
People who weren't in the legacy community were coming in and dunking on the legacy community, and I just felt a little bit, I'm just gonna let
Just
it
check
go.
out and come back later.
Let it go, let it go. So that definitely felt, that for me was a bit sad, and but I think that once the community is now settled, I think one of my favorite sort of bits of critique, to call it an academic term, is MTG Goldfish did a short on their channel where they said a player turns up and they have all their stickers, all the attractions, all the initiative, all the monarch cards, and then they pull them all out, and the opponent flips a Delver and attacks for lethal. And I
Right?
thought, oh,
Exactly. I was
oh,
sitting there, like, when I saw that, I'm like, "Guys, chill out. Nobody is modifying their Delver deck to put attractions cards in. It's fine."
it's
Like,
absolutely fine.
here's the thing, legacy decks are the most, like, finely tuned and, like, carefully constructed decks I've ever seen, and even when they print out, like, a new elf or something that's, like, the most home run, easy to put in, like, this is made for your deck level of elf, like, you're gonna rebuild the entire universe around this deck. Even then, it's like a soul struggle. Like, you're
Yeah,
sitting there like, "Can I do I really wanna take out this one card to put this one in? Can I do that? Will my body allow me to do that?" And it's
exactly.
just like, you're not gonna put in pink balloons, man. It's
No.
fine.
Clown Car is a card for a deck called Bomberman, which is a Auriok
Bomberman's an
Salvagers.
annoying goddamn deck. Oh,
I love it. I absolutely adore it. But it is an Auriok Salvagers Lion's Eye Diamond combination deck, and that's it. And the aforementioned Blank Goblin,
oh
people
god.
can call it Black Goblin, is a Turbo Muxus card, which friend
Like,
my
Moxus needed the help? Come
Moxus
on.
needed help. My friend, well, my good friend and all round legacy, uh, just D&T and Moonstompy friend, XJ Cloud, JR Hamilton, we love him. He is the only person playing this card. So everyone calm down. Same with like the dog. Comet, the dog is gonna get played in like the control deck maybe once.
Yeah, because
Um,
people are gonna be like, "I don't wanna roll dice." Like,
exactly.
I love rolling dice, I love chaos, I
Mm,
love all these things, but this is legacy. I'm not putting my chances on a dice roll. That's not gonna happen. Like, come
exactly.
on.
And it's so this is where and I think Max Gilmore posted something of like, they came, a, a turtle came, nothing changed, so Kappa Cannoneer. A kitten came, nothing changed, displace a kitten, nothing happened. A dog came, nothing's gonna happen. So it's every like, this is the thing that I
Kappa
understand.
Cannoneer is cool though, man. That card is
Kaepernick, that
sweet.
card is busted. But the eight cast deck is not fallen out of favor, but people have found a way to. It is a very it is a deck that you can attack on multiple angles,
Mm,
and so it is quite. It's not fragile, but it definitely has. People have figured it out. It's not
sure.
like it's completely off the turntable. The deck that I so the deck I'm playing right now is Moon Stompy, and
Mm.
everyone. I definitely have players who go, "You wanna play a prison strategy?
Okay, what the hell is
Let's."
Moon Stumpy?
So Moon Stompy, funny enough, there is actually there is a blood moon happening in my city right now. I'm seeing a moon and it's gone red. I'm like, oh, this is a good sign. So a Moon Stompy is a mono red prison deck with Blood Moon, Chalice of the Voids, and Trinispheres, and you have
Oof.
lands that tap for 2 mana, so Ancient Tomb mana in Ancient
Mhm,
Tomb and City of Traitors, and the goal is that you are trying to play things ahead of curve. So you're trying to put I call it clock and lock, or lock and clock, depending on what matchup you're in. But you're trying to either deploy a threat at 2 and a red, so Goblin Rabble Master, Legion War Boss, or play a lock piece in the form of Trinisphere,
mm,
Chalice of the Void, or Blood Moon, or Magus of the Moon if you're also playing that as well. And the deck is basically built to utilize sort of fast mana because you have so much of it,
yeah.
um, so much Simian spirit guides and everything, and you're trying to
Ugh.
basically deploy your threat. You're basically trying to deploy threats and lock pieces ahead of curve before your opponent starts to play Magic. So the deck the deck has had two major upgrades this year in the form of Unlicensed Hearst,
Mm.
and the main one, which I think actually makes the deck sing, Fable of the Mirror Breaker. This card
God,
is
that card is broken.
that card is broken in half. Every red deck in every Eternal Four. It's played in standard as it should be, and in
It is played in
Legacy,
every single format you can get away
it's
with.
incredible. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible, this card. It looks innocuous,
Yeah,
but
that's the thing. People look at it and like, "It doesn't seem that bad. It seems fine." No, it's not fine. It's not
it's
fine at all.
it slices, it dices, it will take you out for dinner if you really wanted it to. And that is, I think that is what has pushed the deck to now being one of the top decks of the format. It has a relatively good matchup against most of the field. It has a not amazing, like the matchups that it's bad, that has bad matchups are Death and Taxes, because literally you play a prison piece to go, cool game, here's an Aether Vial, and I'm like, sadness. And it's just sad. It's so bad. They just you go chalice some they go you I mean, if you go chalice someone, it's a bit easier, but if you go like like, play an Ancient Tomb, play a Chrome Mox, play Goblin Rabble Master, they source the plowshares it. I'm like,
Mhm. Yep.
mhm. I see. This is the way we're going to play. So yeah. Well, also the reason why Death and Taxes is not that amazing against Moon Stompy is, and I think this is a case in modern as well, is Stoneforge Mystic into a Cauldron Complete. Moon Stompy cannot beat. Cauldron Complete
Alder
was a
complete.
mistake. It was
I
a
love that
mistake.
card.
It
It's
was a
so
mis Why has it got indestructible, Shivam? Why has it got indestructible? Why can't I abrade this thing? I just want to abrade it and just get on with my
That
day.
card is so it's so messed up on so many
It's
levels.
so
It's so
why
gross.
why does it exile the creature? It's like Questing Beast. You keep reading, and it's
Yeah, and
like,
every line gets worse, and you're like, "What is going on with this
what
deck?"
happened? I remember the first time I blocked my Murktide Regent to a Cauldron and was very sad, because I was there going, "This is not how this. Oh, it is. Oh, okay,
Oh no, oh no.
exactly." It died. So yeah, that's not an amazing matchup. And then the other matchup, which is not amazing, is Show and Tell, which is a blue combo deck.
Yeah, well,
Um,
yeah, because they're showing Emrakul, and you're like, "Legion Goblin?" And they're like, "Yeah,
Legion
sure.
Warboss.
Yeah, Warbus, okay." And they're
Occasionally, occasionally you can get them if they go Omniscience and you put a Trinisphere in,
well, that's
because
cute.
that's cute. Exactly, that's what I thought. Well, this is actually something you mentioned about layers earlier in our conversation reminds me of Trinisphere, because when I first picked up this card, I'm like, so they pay free? They pay free everything. And I spoke to a judge, it is the last thing that you check. It's like, check everything, and then the Trinisphere is the last thing to check. And it's like, so I remember the first time I did it to Show and Tell, and they said Trinisphere, and they go, oh, I'm like, yeah. Oh, yes, this is how it works. And they were really sad. But those are the two matchups. But I think Legacy is in a place where, as much as the BNR announcement was a little bit of a bitter pill to swallow.
Mm.
I I am of the opinion now that if they really don't want to invest time into it, either let the community do with it. And I think the thing that made a lot of players a little uh I think sad, but also just frustrated is the fact that when they were doing their numbers, it felt like they were running numbers just from the Magic Online leagues rather than looking at it from a more holistic competitive
Oh, they're
level.
absolutely doing that. That's the
Yeah,
only number they care about,
yeah.
because that's
And
like a
that
number they can verify, right? Like,
exactly. So they can go, "Oh, it is 9%." There is a reason why it's 9% because people don't wanna play, when you fire up a league, you're either testing or you just wanna play something because you can. And that's the reason why Delver is not as, prevalent. Whereas, one thing I'm gonna shout out Joseph Dyer, good what an absolute king. So Joseph Dyer set up a legacy data collection, group. They have their own server, Discord server, and every legacy challenge, showcase, premiere event that they do, they will have a bunch of players and community folks who will watch the games afterwards, and then will log everything, and we will have stats. And we have every week we have a big old spreadsheet that comes out. He posts it on Twitter, and you can see how it all shook out. And that data, and as someone who, as an academic, the power of data is so useful for something for a trading card game that players should have that where possible. When and how is a different conversation, but I think it should be had. And it felt like when I read that two paragraphs that they just hadn't even considered competitive play in their field division.
which is
And
weird, right? Like,
it
people
is
aren't kept playing legacy casual. Like, that's not a thing.
no. I mean, they are. They're playing it in
Well, yeah,
terms
I
of
mean,
for
okay, people are
friends.
playing legacy for funsies at the store or whatever, but it just feels like they've written it off and are just kind of like putting it on, like life support or something, or just like sending it to the nursing home as once in a while you check in, write grandma a letter. It's real, it's real kind of disheartening to see.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, maybe there's like, obviously the commander advisory group has been a rousing success. The pauper advisory group has been a rousing success, or whatever they call themselves, the pauper panel,
P- PFP,
pap.
the
Yeah, the CAG and the pap. Okay.
yeah,
Um,
there's a psst, the pf, as I call them.
yeah,
Yeah,
PFP.
the
Okay, yeah,
PFP,
whatever.
and yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
fine.
they've been successful. If you get the right mix of people, then yeah, you could probably have a very successful and healthy way to play. And it costs Watsy nothing, right?
It
Like,
does.
it's just
That's
like,
true.
look, you guys having more people playing your game just means more people are playing your game, more chances for people to see, more people want to buy games, whatever. Yeah, okay, so you're not selling them like, ancient tombs or whatever. You're still having mindshare, and having a thriving community is only good for a game.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to stop supporting formats. Just like, formats might just get smaller, but that doesn't mean you can't. You don't
I,
need, if you don't want to dedicate resources to it, don't. But get people who do care and let them do it.
well, this is actually this is kind of leads to something that I've been talking about a lot on Twitter, and I've been sort of building it with people from Europe. Is that we as the European community were like, well, if there's not going to be any high level competitive events, we'll just make one. And
Exactly.
so has birthed from the rising from the ashes is what we have now called the European Legacy Masters, which is an invitational series. I'll do my quick spiel. So that
Mm,
invitational series where the best players across Europe compete to be the legacy champion, and we had to be very careful with the name because our European coordinator for the regional qualifiers is also called Legacy. So
mm,
many players got frustrated with that. So we had to change the name. We now called it European Legacy Masters. So there are now, I think, 15 countries from across Europe that are qualifying for events, and we've got the likes of Mengucci and Javier Dominguez, but we also have just your good Magic players who have been playing Legacy forever and have qualified, and it's going to be great. The first one is on the third. The inaugural event is on the 1st of December. Sorry, the 3rd of December at the Four Seasons tournament in Bologna, and
Nice.
it's going to be incredible. It's going to be 7 rounds of the top level Magic, and I can't wait. I can't wait to showcase good legacy play. I
That's
can't.
gonna be
I
fun.
It's going to be incredible, and players want it. And I remember when we first sort of touted the idea because the Italians have been doing this for years.
Mhm.
Unsurprisingly, their community is quite healthy, and they've got close to, I think, 20 leagues of legacy, just legacy, up and down the country, maybe more.
Italians love Legacy.
They
It is
adore legacy.
bananas.
It's amazing. I love to their bones that they love this format. So it I love this phrase. To their bones is like my new favorite phrase right now.
You
And
sound like someone's auntie, though, when you do that. You're like, "Ah, it hits me in my
bones.
bones."
It's in my bones.
That's
But
a very old world phrase. That's a
it
very,
is,
like, it's
yeah.
got heft to
Yeah,
it.
it's got depth and heft. But
Yeah.
it 100%, it's just fascinating to watch the Italians work their magic. And we were like, "We wanna do it too." So, it was initially just gonna be the Italians, the Germans, the Belgians, and the Brits, and then other countries, of course, other countries get involved.
It's like a
And
train ride away. Why wouldn't we?
exactly, everyone. Then now we've got countries from Finland to Slovakia to um, Spain, Portugal. We got Ireland. We got major European countries who have thriving. I'm going to say thriving legacy communities. And so this one, for the first inaugural one, we actually had some special guests invited because we wanted to showcase the best
Sure.
of legacy. So Mengucci obviously comes, and Javier Dominguez. We go invite them. They're coming
Yeah.
anyway. They're going to come anyway.
Why
But
wouldn't it's a tournament. It's a tournament in the continent. Of course I'm gonna go.
exactly, Mengucci's always there, and he loves it. So, and then we've also invited previous GP winners. So the GP Birmingham in 2018, the Legacy GP, Gary Campbell, who is
Mm,
canonically known as King of the North.
yeah, the
Um,
Scotsman who's like,
s- I love that
a
man.
very good player, such a good player.
I love that man so much. Um, he was so wasn't playing Legacy yet when he won, but I knew of him because everyone knew of the King of the North, and I love that man so much. And then we've had loads of other players, Stefan Schutz, who's kind of like a big, Magic player, and a
Mm,
few other people. So it's there's some good names there, and then there's just your good run of the mill players who've been playing forever, who are just good.
grinders,
Um,
the people who make
just
up our bread and butter, right? Like, come on.
exactly. I mean, the one of the challenges, I think, and something from talking with you, is competitive Magic. It still is not that diverse, and Legacy
Sure isn't.
is as guilty as the rest of the formats, um, which is fine for me. Not fine for me, but it is something that I have to keep reminding my fellow peers and especially for the legacy masters. It's saying, let's be mindful of this. Like, let's, maybe not for this one because it's the first one, but for the next one, and moving forward, especially if you're getting partners involved, we need
Mm,
to be
mm.
showing inclusivity,
Yeah,
um and financial inclusivity we've kind of done already, because the event itself, you don't have to pay to enter. If you're qualified, you're already paying. You're kind of paying because you're coming.
yeah.
But the event is proxy friendly.
Hmm,
So we are going to be ensuring that's the case. To be honest, most of the players I think are probably just going to have the cards anyway because it's
legacy.
legacy. But if they can't, and they're sort of newer to it, or they necessarily can't get the cards together, the event is going to be proxy friendly, or
Mm,
playtest friendly. I think that is the phrase I should be using,
right.
and it that's good. But that's one step to inclusivity. I think for the future iterations, we need to look at, you know gender, race, ethnicity, and sort of try to encourage that. And that's something that,
That's a hard row to hoe, right? Because the
yeah,
fact that Legacy is such an entrenched format, and it's such a like, especially in most Eternal ways to play, because people have been playing for so long, they have the inherent benefit of having been here, having had the cards, having had the play experience, and so new people coming in or something, there's a very high barrier to entry. Plus,
yes,
there's the intimidation factor. Plus, there's the if you're a marginalized member of any marginalized group, trying to enter into an entrenched group is inherently difficult unto itself, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, we haven't even talked about the fact that you're a brown lady who plays competitive Magic. How hard is that? Like, how wild has that been for you dealing with, oh, whose girlfriend are you? Or like any number of ridiculousness,
Oh,
right?
I've got so my favorite ones. So me and one of my other marginalized gender friends. I remember being at the Four Seasons event, the first one, and we were comparing notes with another lady who was playing modern, and I think we had the girlfriend bracket. I'm in the girlfriend bracket. Did your boyfriend make that deck for you? Um, where is your boyfriend? Um, and many other denominations of that. So for me, I it was tougher when I first started.
Mm,
I b Also, one advantage I had is because 'cause I'm a natural extrovert,
mm.
um, it
Couldn't tell.
you couldn't tell could you not tell?
It's an hour
Uh,
and 11 minutes into an hour-long podcast. I think I think we know.
it's good. So I'm a natural extrovert, so for me, I just kinda walked in and was just like, "Oh, everyone's gonna be like me." They weren't. And
Magic is not a home for extroverts, I have learned.
no, if only, if only.
Yeah,
Uh,
I gotta interrupt for a second. One of the things that annoys me so much is when we're playing Commander and people are just like locked silent and just staring and doing the tournament thing. I'm like, bro, this is a 4-player social game. We're here to talk and chill. Get if you can't talk, I accept that, but you can chill. like like
chill out.
we it's okay. It's okay. This is not day 2 of the Pro Tour. Turn it down 12 notches. We're fine.
It's all good. Don't worry about it. And so for me that was a bit of a wake up call. But I was very fortunate enough that I was surrounded with good people. And I was surrounded with players who encouraged me to do well and were my biggest advocates. But especially coming back into Legacy, I have had to be very forthright with some of my grinder friends to just reframe some of the unconscious biases that they may have.
Mm,
And so there was an article by a lovely lady called Dawn Delosier, an American grinder who's been playing Delver in the NRG circuit, and she relayed her experiences about playing competitively. And one of the things she said is the feeling when you sit across your opponent and you can see in their eyes that they think they've already won. So it means they don't respect you. And
right.
I've seen this account a number of times. It's happened to me also. And that to me is that's disheartening. But what I pride myself on now is what I've coined aggressively nice.
Mhm,
Because if I am just myself and just aggressively nice and just being lovely and just all round good player to be around, if they are being horrible or tilting out at me, it reflects badly on them.
mm,
So that is kind of my defense mechanism, one way of putting it. But yeah, I would say it has been a challenge, but something that I don't inadvertently mind anymore, but I wish there were more women. So when I do see more women and marginalized genders playing Magic, I'm very excited. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. And
mhm.
I remember the first time I got paired against a woman, and we were just like, this is exciting. This is so cool. And then she crushed me. She was playing elves. She was playing elves. I was playing Delver. I got crushed. That happens, and but that's fine. But I think being a woman of color as well, like there's obviously it's another level. It's like there's the woman aspect, but then being a person of color playing Magic at that level is like unseen. Like literally, I think the only free
Free
female
mail.
player, female how to say it, three female or marginalized gender players of color that I know are me, Arya Karam Chandani, which I think I've said
Mhm.
her name correctly, and Noor Singh. If there's anyone else, let me know. Um,
Oh, goodness gracious. That's
but competitively, I mean,
I mean,
on a
yeah,
competitive
that's kind of
it.
I know maybe a handful more who play Commander,
Yeah,
and, I the but I
yeah.
mean, think about it like this: how am I, the one of the clowns of idiocy, one of, like, the most prominent brown dudes in Magic, what does that even mean?
I
Like,
don't know. I don't know, Shivam. It's
how
sad.
how and why is this even a thing? There are so many people. I mean,
There's
there
so
are
many
people who
brown
are
people.
so many better people than me in Magic who are like Anurag Das should be well known by everybody, right? Like freaking Cedric Phillips is right there. I mean, obviously Cedric is a king of like everybody knows who Cedric is.
We love Cedric Phillips is like a
He is a hero and a genius, and I love him.
magic
Um,
and wrestling together. Oh, it just as soon as I found out Cedric Phillips was a wrestling fan, I was like, I am following your Twitter regardless of
oh,
what
that
you
dude,
say.
he is so he's so intelligent and clever. But
Yes.
but yeah, like there are more. There are more.
Yeah, of course.
Why is this? Why is it that we can count them?
Yeah, and
Right?
that's the but I think that's something that, um well, so one thing that I've known about for a long time, but I'm actually gonna do this season is the VML. And I think
Mm.
the VML is an amazing opportunity for people of marginalized genders to come together and play competitive Magic because sometimes when you go to tournaments
Can you
and
explain what the VML is for the
so the
people at home?
VML is a I think it is just called the VML. It is a tournament series for players of marginalized gender. So
Ye
it is going to be a an arena tournament. You can find I think it's VML MTG on Twitter,
yeah, they were
and
just advertised on Arena itself the other day. That was really
exactly,
cool.
and it's so amazing. You're gonna play standard. I have to learn standard again. I have not played standard in 4 years. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna play Delver, and I'm gonna have a lovely time. Or mono red. I just get to play blue or red cards. One of these 2 will be fine. And it's gonna be amazing because I remember joining their Discord server and just being surrounded with all of this knowledge and people being passionate about their decks and passionate about Magic, and it was amazing. And that's like if you just let people who aren't sort of cis white men talk about what they love, it's amazing. And I am someone who is passionate about the stuff I'm passionate about. Legacy is definitely one of them, but I'm passionate about Magic anyway. And I want players to feel that they can talk about. I think one of the challenges
Yep.
was I think one of the challenges on social media is that people get very forthright in their opinions. That's just
Mm.
Magic Twitter, and that for me sometimes you people I feel sometimes Magic players, I think players of any hobby or anything that is a passion for them, they can kind of lose them. People have forgotten how to do discourse and debate. Um,
Boy.
Boy, howdy have they. And I've been at the brunt end of that, and I go into conversations with the best intentions and then come out feeling a bit sort of bruised, and they're going, "Well, I'm coming at this with a good heart. You also purport to love this game as much as I do, so why aren't you coming with a good heart?" Alas, not everyone is like me, but here we are.
You know, we try.
We
Like,
try.
honestly, it's I keep saying, like, look, my whole goal in life is to encourage people to be nice to each other. I
Exactly.
feel like if we're sitting down at the table and we're kind and then we go play and we kill each other, then we're fine and you get up and you have no hard feelings because we were nice to each other. Unless, I mean, if we're playing a tournament and we're actively trying to be hostile to each other, that's cool. That's fine. Pump yourself up. But we're still playing a game and we're still having fun and we still like each other.
Yeah,
Like, okay, you don't have to like each other, but you can at least just be nice, just be
exactly.
professional, just be polite. Like,
Polite
I mean,
Politeness is key. I pride myself when I'm playing Magic competitively to be I'm not gonna say memorable, but that happens. But just but just to be polite when I play and just have a laugh and smile and just enjoy it because that's the thing that I'm there to do. And I've definitely been that person when I was doing the grind where it's you're in that Levine trench and you all you see is the next qualifier event and you're trying to grind when you said grind for buys for GPs and things. And I've got friends who've done that. I've seen friends go through that process. And for me, I felt that the day that you stop enjoying the game at any level is the day you need to take a step back.
exactly.
100%. And I had friends, especially this qualifier season for the regional championships, where they would just go into every qualifier under the sun and just were like, "Why are you here?" It's like, "Oh, I'm trying to qualify." I'm like, "No, why are you here?" And my kind of the psychologist in me came out and I said, what is it for?" And they're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
I'm trying to," but it's like, and they just would just say, "I'm trying to qualify, I'm trying to qualify." I'm like, "But if you're not enjoying it, stop." Like, and but it's an addictive. It's also there's a
yeah.
myriad of reasons.
I
Addictive
mean, look,
personality,
it's
chasing that
complicated.
dream. Yeah,
Exactly, right? Like, we all want that high again, et cetera, but there's a point where when it becomes a grind, when it becomes no longer the thing you were doing for fun, and now it's your job, and now it's just, like, your livelihood, now it's the thing that you just depend on for, like, that little bit of adrenaline, but you're not at the tier where you can just win and coast on it, then it's just not now it's a net negative to your life, right? Like, I tell this to people all the time, I'm like, "Look, man, if Commander is pissing you off that much, go play something else for a minute. We're still going to be here. We
yeah,
will always be here. This is an eternal format. Your deck will always work. Just chill. It'll be fine. Go, like, because sometimes you do, like, sometimes it's just important to I like to look at the farming analogy. Like, when you're planting a field and you plant it over and over and over again and you're growing your wheat and stuff, at some point you've depleted all the nutrients from that field. You need to let the field go fallow for a season, put some like fava beans or something, re-nitrogenate it, whatever you need to do. And then once that field is, healthy and rested, you come back and you do it again. That's why you have
exactly.
three different fields that you can go to. And that's why I look at people who've got like one and one hobby, and that's where you lose your mind because like when that stops being the thing that gives you happiness and acts as your escape, now you've got no place to go. And now you're just going to sink,
Yeah.
right?
Well, this is kind of this is sort of a small tangent, but this is kind of what my as you mentioned at the start of the show, I'm an academic. I'm studying. I'm looking at game psychology and games research, and my study is looking at gaming during difficult life experiences and what happens when stuff is not going well in life, and you turn to video games for that escape. You said as soon as you said escape or cope, my ears prick up because I'm like,
Mhm.
did someone say those magic words? And it's interesting to see it from from like magic perspective because I've done it. I've definitely gone to it for escape. I've definitely used Magic Online for escape many times. You just throw yourself into the mires, and I've seen other players who do it. And I've read accounts. And I think there was an article by Ryan Overturf, which I read a few
Uh,
weeks ago, and
so
said
good.
he's so good. But he talked about what I think it was. I can't remember the name of the title, but it was like, was it worth it? And he basically had was doing well in the tournament, but he had basically, I think for some reason he had to cancel some plans with his girlfriend or whoever it was, and he got to the end, and it was like, was it worth it? And sometimes you have to ask yourself that question and kind of look at it with a fresh pair of eyes. And for me, um, I now kind of coming at magic from both an academic perspective, from like a game psychology perspective, and also from a player who is playing competitive magic. Not like I would like to do well,
Mm,
but it is not my identity that is trying
mm.
to if I whenever I try to level up as a Magic player, it's because I have identified gaps in my play that I would want to improve on. And the idea of Magic coaching, I think, is very, very important. And I think players who are to use a roundabout word, enlightened enough to recognize it's the only word that came to my head, but they are enlightened enough to recognize that they are
Or
not
self-aware, perhaps?
they're self-aware, that's the word, that's thank you, Shivam. But they're self-aware that they don't know what they don't know. And that for me, as someone who is done coaching um as a not profession, but I learned about coaching and it's so valuable. It's so
Mm,
unbelievably
mm,
valuable to just look at it from a different perspective. And I think in all formats, both competitive and casual, I have a group of people that I trust when it comes to X situation. For competitive, I've got like format specialists and format knowledge friends I call them, and then for casual, I've played with the same play group now since 2015. Like
mm.
I've got the same 7 or 8 friends that we've been playing together so long, uh, and we know each other and we know what's to expect, and my husband is probably one of the best brewers I ever know, and I'm gonna obviously be think he's amazing because he's my husband, but
Well, yeah.
I mean
I would hope
exactly,
so.
exactly. Well, the man so Shivam, I don't know if you have someone like this in your play group or have played against it. Do you have someone who has built graveyard decks in every combination of colors that is possibly viable? Because my husband has done that and has built every Sultai deck known to man, that is imaginable. If he wants to put Golgari Grave Troll in every deck, he's going to put Golgari Grave Troll every. He put so hand on heart when he built his Mordrotha deck. Mordrotha the Gravetide is 6/6 that once each turn you can play a permanent from your graveyard each turn. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
My husband put his Lion's Eye Diamond that he bought for himself in that deck because you play it every turn. And I was like, wow.
Madrotha is such a stupid card.
He
It
loves it.
makes me so mad.
It's so mad. But he has built all the graveyard decks. Like this is my husband is a connoisseur of graveyard decks. To the point where he now understands
Connoisseur?
absolute connoisseur. Literally everything he
Oh,
gets
see,
he
there's a that you missed the pun because of English. See, sewer, as in, like,
oh so
under.
oh I did miss that one. It's fine.
Look, I'm a dad, I get them where I can.
Exactly. It's amazing. I love puns. But he adores them and it's amazing to watch him. It's interesting because I come at it from commanders. I would like to do powerful things. I'm very much a powerful things lady. I built a my first deck was an Agris Kos Wodric veteran deck, which
Mm,
then turned into a Gisela deck, which then turned
mm,
into an Aurelia deck, which then turned
mm.
into a Kalia deck. Um, I just went more and more
You're just
powerful.
climbing the ladder.
Just keep going. And I just want to do powerful things.
Well, yeah.
Um, and
So why did you pick Boros?
I loved Boros because I loved Boros when I first started
It's
playing
like,
Magic.
"Yeah, I wanna do powerful things, so I took the weakest colored
I love Boros. I think Boros now is what it's trying to do. It's really cool. But
I think Boros
I
has gotten, supercharged lately, it's very, very good. But
it's
yeah, anyway.
amazing. I am a big fan. But it's with Commander now. I look at it and I want to do powerful things, but I am not somebody who and I think I think from listening to you, you're a bit more like you want to like make it work. Like you've put the synergy cards in and you're like,
Mhm.
fly, my pretty fly.
Pretty much.
And my husband's like that. So whenever you talk about magic and I'm like, listen to this, Daniel, listen, listen, listen. And he's like, but he's someone who can see it all working. And I just watch his face light up with glee when it all works. And it's like,
Yes, 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 that's all I want in life. I wanna
exactly. And
build a 17 card machine, and I want it to do something dumb, and it's gonna be awesome. That's all I want in life.
that's all I want to do. And that for me is like, and I think for me coming at it from a competitive perspective is like I want to do fun stuff and I just want to do powerful things. But there is definitely in a lot of my decks now, I have what I've called a um mum's tired, she doesn't want to play anymore. Here is like it's like a release valve. It's like in my 4 color landfall deck, I've got a Gisela and Aurelia at the top end because I'm like, I just want to kill
Oh, look,
everybody in this
every one
game.
of my decks has at least one card, which is just like, "Game's gotta end."
Yeah,
And so,
now we're
this
done.
is coming out, and we're just calling it now. Like,
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, you have infinites in your deck," and I'm like, "Yeah, I have infinites, but you know when I play them? On turn, like, 17 or
Yeah,
20 or whatever. When the game has gone on and we've all done the thing, okay, then I'll pull out the infinite and we'll call it a day because we
exactly,
played." But it's like, I'm
exactly.
not gonna do it on turn 2. Why would I? Like, we just started. We just got here.
We're
Chill.
just having a lovely time.
Like,
What is your actually one question I have for you as a commander player? What is so I only have one thing that I don't like in commander games, and that is
mm,
mass land destruction.
yes.
Mass land destruction, I have never been a particular fan of. I was like no land destruction, and then I was like wasteland and strip mine is actually keeps stuff in
I think
check.
Wasteland and Strip Mine are very, very important in Commander
Yeah,
because you wanna get rid of the Mazavith, you wanna get rid of their Cradles or Nykthos or whatever it is, like, there's always gonna be some utility land that is just worth your time, like, the blue
rogue's
guy has just
passage.
drawn 38 cards, maybe kill their Reliquary Tower, it's fine. Um, like, they had their fun. Uh, yeah,
Exactly.
but yeah,
The
so
I think mass land destruction is the one I've done. And then I used to not be a fan of just one card combos.
mm,
So like Approach the Second Sun.
mm,
Like Approach the Second Sun, I felt was just a little bit like, oh, you're not
okay.
working. You're not. Yeah, it's like that. Basically, that's how I felt. It was just like, oh, okay, you win the game. I want,
Great.
exactly. Well, it was like when it's like it was, like I don't mind like Dream Hall's Enter the Infinite or Mike Trike or all the two card Monty. I don't mind.
Yeah.
I actually don't mind two-card Monty, but it's just when it's just like, oh, you win this, you win. Like I've definitely played those cards. Like I've played Felidar. Is it Felidar Sovereign where you
Yeah.
have? Like I've
That
played.
card is just such a dumb card in Commanders, like,
It's,
if you have
it's
over 40 life, you win the game. Bro, I started there.
I
Now what
start
do we
here.
do?
Exactly. What are we doing now? So I
Like,
played
I was
those.
born here.
Exactly. I've played those cards. Oh, for a while, I was very much the pillow fort lady. So
Ugh.
actually, I need to share one of my favorite commanders with you. Guatha Hazid Profiteer.
Really?
I adore that card. I love him. I love him so much.
That
Guatha
card is so
Hazid Profiteer.
stupid.
I love him. I
Ah,
love him so much. He's
that card gets reprinted all the time. People always forget it's there, but
oh,
it lives its blue-white life and just
it's
sits
so
there
good.
and is
It's so
so like, I play aggro decks, I play attacky decks, and this dude just like, "Or
how about
how about
Habibi,
we chill?
chill
We
out,
can
have a cup
chill,
of
it'll be fine. Just
exactly.
come over for snacks, just stay a while, we'll be good."
Exactly. That's basically what I did. It was like, "Habibi, chill out, have a cup of tea." Um, that and then I think it aurification where everything if you
Oh,
attack, it makes gold
turned
everything
into, like,
is
gold set,
gold.
yeah. The King Midas card, it's
I
so
love that
stupid.
card. I adore that card. So I played that. I had that phase of playing Magic for a while, and then one of my favorite commanders I never got to buy when I first started playing Commander was Hezazon Tamar, and now
Ah,
he's got a new printing. My
Hazazon is so good.
it's well, firstly, he makes. I mean, we'll address the elephant in the room that he makes sand warriors. We'll address that elephant in the
I
room.
mean, they're sand warriors, and they're all wearing the nice
I love
Saudi
it.
headgear.
I adore it. I wanted to buy. I should have bought it when I first started playing Commander because they were like really cheap, but now they're like really expensive. But the
Yeah,
new
like,
one,
that's one of my cards I just want to own just
yeah,
because I love Hazazon.
exactly. And the new one, I'm like, okay, let's deserts very fun. So yeah, those two cards I've adored. But yeah, Guafa Hazid is like I went through this phase of just playing like Pillow Fort, Opalescence, Enchanted Evening, or Rafif, like just blow up all your things, and no one has fun. And I had that phase, and then I was like, okay, now I should actually play Magic now. I think everyone I have it. It's weird. I think I I'm an aggro player at heart. I'm
Mm.
100% aggro player at heart. But there is something, and this is kind of comes back to legacy. There is something quite, um, I don't want to call it charming, but I find charming of a prison strategy because
Look,
it's like just like especially in Commander. It's like everyone calm down, just everyone take a deep breath,
I
just
love
chill.
watching like, I hate control. I hate
Yeah,
control decks.
I do
I
too.
hate counter spells. I hate permission decks. If you play it against me, I'm gonna be salty for life. That's like but if you say that, like, Shota Yasaoka is gonna sit down in the Pro Tour and he's playing mono blue counter spells, I will watch every hour of his goddamn matches because there is an elegance to watching somebody who knows what they're doing play a high level control deck. I fully admit it. I will own it all day long. Like, I love watching control decks.
Yeah.
But by God, if you play it against me, I'm going to be the pillar of salt, right? Like,
Exactly, and I was like that for a long time, and I think one thing I learned and I think this is something that Legacy taught me is that the control decks, as much as they are elegant, they are attackable. There
yeah,
is a way that you can navigate, and I think actually playing aggro for me is sort of it definitely taught me the lessons of like it doesn't mean that you can't play Magic. You just have to be you have to be a little bit more nuanced in how you get to
aggro
where you need to.
is aggro is equally as elegant as control. There's a
Oh
lot like people like to just, "Oh, you just turn your thing sideways." I'm like, "There's an art
no,
to this, man." Like, if you just start throwing your creatures away, you're gonna die and lose. There is a definite tactic and strategy in aggro that people, I think, have discounted for a long time, and, it always made me sad because 'cause I'm like, "No,
yeah.
there's an art to this, man.
There was art
There's
to Reds.
finesse."
Yeah.
It
Well,
doesn't
this is
look like it, but it is.
it is. And I
But
for me, I'm a red player at heart, and I think for me the elegance is watching red deck mirrors. So the standard deck with
mm, mm.
the Runaway Steamkin, oh that deck was so good.
Oh, oh,
Uh That deck was incredible. I love that standard. And then even the modern burn decks where I remember before Sunbake Canyon and stuff like that, where you just hope to God you draw stuff. It was the Skullcrack Lightning Helix game of like, well, who's gonna go first? And it was elegant. You played your creatures, you just did it, and I, as a red mage through and through, I find that so beautiful when I play it, and especially like Lightning Bolt's my favorite Magic card. Like it's 100%. But there's an elegance to it that I think gets pushed away because like red is the color of passion and impulse and stuff like. And I'm like, it is, but it's also the color that is it it finds elegance in chaos, and
Mm,
that
mm,
is something that I was watching. I've been watching a lot about the color pie as again a game designer. I find it quite fascinating, and just trying to understand like what are the colors trying to do. And I
mm,
feel
mm.
like red gets kind of like, oh, it's just like this. I'm like, no, 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 no. Red is a very, very beautiful color in the color pie. It complements everyone else where it has it, and I think that's it for me. That is just like it
Okay, but you had
resonates
started
with me.
this exercise with saying you had a question for me about it as a commander player,
I did
and
have
then
what
you
is
got off on
then
mass
I
line
got
destruction.
this is oh no, what is your one uh what is your like one thing that you sort of either don't like at tables or that's something
Mm.
like your pet peeve? Obviously I think control is probably the main one.
Well,
Um
here's the thing for me, and I have to be very delicate with how I say this because
of
people
course,
take what I say and turn it into like declarations,
pitchforks.
right?
Yeah,
Like, but the thing is, for me, when I sit down to play a commander game, I'm sitting down for a social experience. I'm sitting down for us to sit and enjoy each other's company, play a card game. Somebody wins, we all have a good time. What I don't like, and what irks me greatly, is when it becomes when your deck's purpose is to prevent other people from playing,
yeah,
like, or you lock somebody individual people out. Like, for
yeah,
instance, my pet hated most hated card is Iona, because in Commander, Iona just says target player doesn't get to play. Not necessarily like you it says you can't cast any cards of X color or whatever. No, what it says is the monocolor player doesn't get to play.
yeah,
And that is just antithetical to me to a social environment.
yeah,
Like, we're here to enjoy ourselves, to play, to sit there and not have to like beg other people to let us come in.
yeah,
And I just like that really, really grates on me.
yeah,
Like, now I
100%.
accept that there are tables where people play like hard control locks against each other and have interactive games and love it
Yeah,
because you guys know what you're doing. You're at a table where everybody is here to and understand what's on the table. We all understand what we're here for. I know you're going to play your lock deck, so I'm bringing my deck that is built to handle that strategy and
yeah,
work around it. And I've got the mindset that if you counter me, I know what's going to happen. Great. But if we're just playing and you just start countering, like, if you're countering the kill spell, nobody's gonna care, right? Like,
yeah,
"Oh, yeah, I'm gonna put down, Crater Hoof Movement, you countered. Okay, well, I had that coming, fine." But if I'm just, like, setting up and I just play a random enchantment and you counter it just because you've got 2 mana open, that didn't further the game. That set me back, but it also just says that you are looking at this game from a perspective that I am not looking at it from,
yeah,
which is, like, we're not respecting each other as players here. And that just
100%.
to me is like that's I think where my line is, like, even mass land destruction, I hate mass land destruction, but it's not like the end of the universe because especially now with all the treasures and artifacts and everything. But it's more like if I know that's what you wanna do, I'm not gonna bring my deck of 9 drops, right? Like, I'm gonna
Yeah,
bring my faster, cleaner, easier decks that can work around this, and I'm gonna have a fun time. It'll be
yeah,
great, we understand. But if you just out of nowhere start blindsiding me with Armageddons, then I'm like, maybe we should have had that discussion about before we sat down. What
exactly.
was our goal here?
Yeah, I think the rule zero thing, as much as I know some people get like irked about it, I think is 100% relevant. I personally now find it challenging to play Commander in the wild
Mm,
because I am so used to a play group of a certain play style that if I go into the wild and I don't get to do my thing because that's not what's been agreed, it's just I'm just like I'm
and it's
blindsided.
heartbreaking. It's
Yeah,
frustrating and heartbreaking, and, like, that's part of the whole thing. Everybody's like, "Why are you telling me what to do?" And I'm like, "No, I don't care about you and your personal group. What I'm trying to do is make it so that when you go to random LGS and sit down on Friday night to play, you're not just getting jobbed by somebody who's bringing a bruiser deck and, like, that you guys don't have an understanding. Everything that we do is meant to give a baseline of equality so that we all know where we stand when we go and play against an untrustworthy play group. And that's
Yes.
a weird and loaded term, but what it means is basically you're playing against people you don't know. And
Yeah.
that you don't know their style and you may never play again against them again. We want to make sure at least that one time you play, you don't hate it.
Exactly. And I think that's something that I think coming at it from competitive side now, I can kind of look at it and sort of appreciate that in a bit more of a holistic view.
Yeah, a lot of
But
competitive players look at this and go, "What the hell do you mean I have to have, like, an essay before I start playing?" I'm like, "No, it's just that you guys have a shared notion when you play competitive. You know
yeah.
what you're here for. If I crush you or you crush me, nobody cares because that's the point. But if we're sitting down to play social game of fun time and you crush me, okay, you won, but s
What's the point?
what 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 did you win? Now
Yeah.
we all have to shuffle up and play again, or now one person is just gonna sit there for 3 hours while the rest of you actually try to kill each other." Like,
Yeah.
was that a fun experience for everybody? Is that table gonna get up and say, "Gosh, I appreciate that usage of my time"?
Yeah.
No,
I,
that you have
it's
to reconfigure how you think, and that's hard for people to do.
Exactly, and I think that and I think with Commander players, I know there's this kind of perspective that all competitive players don't understand what casual players think or what casual players can't understand. So no, 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 they do. Everyone understands, but we come at it from different perspectives, and I definitely have friends who just play Commander and Cube who go, "Oh, you all you talk about is playing Legacy and stuff like that." I'm like, no, it's more just that I Shivam, and you'll appreciate this from Commander. When you find a community that understands you, that welcomes you in, the fact the legacy community, certainly in the UK and Europe, you say, I would like to borrow a deck. This is a very loaded question. I would like to borrow a deck. There is card availability issues we have. And would say within about 3 days, I could probably play a deck of any deck in Legacy within about 3 days worth of notice, because that is the level of shared, loved, and hospitality is the best word that people have in the community. And so I think it's the same in Commander. You can say, here you go, here's my foiled out. Like I have a friend that has a foiled out Glisser deck. Everything's foil. I had a friend who had a foiled out mono brown deck with a workshop. I was just like, I was just like, oh, I don't want to touch it. And you're just like, and you just go like, but that's amazing. And but it's like having Rule Zero. I think it might have been Scott Cullen or somebody else
Mm.
who did the saga. I don't know if it was Scott Cullen or someone. I think Scott Cullen posted about it. Someone had a saga of what their deck did as a like at the start in the front of their commander so they can just show it as a rule zero. So when
That's
you
a
go to Command
clever
Fest,
idea.
it's so cool. I think Scott Cullen posted. It might have been not Scott. If Scott
I'll
is,
have to go
tell me.
look.
I have to go look it up. But that was such a clever idea that I think it's super important. And I think if I was going to play Command Fest, I would probably take a deck that I can explain in like 2 sentences of like my
Yeah,
deck.
that's
So
exactly it. Like, people are like, "Do I need to give you, like, a do I need to lecture?" I'm like, "No, I don't need a lecture, man. I just need to say, 'Yo, I'm playing a ramp deck that wins by trashing my lands.' There, now you know what my Titania duck does, right?" Like,
yeah,
there
easy
was
peasy.
yeah, easy peasy. Like, it's fine. I mean, like, if I sit there, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm playing my Patra deck. It makes a whole ton of tokens. It's got a lot of -1/-1 counters." Okay, great. There, now you know what
We
my
know what's
deck does.
happening. Yeah, exactly. And I think
It's like
that's
and you don't need like, people are like, "I don't wanna give you my win con." I'm like, "Don't give me your win con. You've got 100 other cards in there. Tell me what they do." Or just tell me, like, the whole give me an elevator pitch, right? Like,
yeah.
holistically sell me on your deck.
That is the thing that I think Magic players struggle with, and I think some coming from a sales perspective, is something that for me I felt like is actually a bonus because I can kind of go, "Well, sell me on this." I'm like, "Well, my Kinesis and Tiro deck is basically a ramp deck with a top end of Gisela and Aurelia because sometimes we just need to win the game, and it's just has loads of landfall stuff. Boom, you draw some cards because I feel like I want to give back, and that's it. It's easy peasy. Like it's just let's go. The what and I think have you played the 40K decks yet?
I haven't gotten mine yet.
Oh, we got ours. We
I'm well, I was on vacation when they came out, so I
yeah,
haven't made it to the store yet to grab mine. But,
they're
they
very
look
good.
sweet.
They're very good. I played Tyranids and absolutely,
That
Shivan
deck was made for me.
that deck for me too. It's all the things you love to do, ramping,
Yes,
plus
the
one
tokens,
counters,
the
the
counters,
tokens.
it's so gross, it's so good. That deck
It's
is
so good.
it
It
looks so synergist it's like these 4 precons feel to me like what happens if you give someone, like, carte blanche and say, make the best possible deck you could make out of your favorite thing, and it's,
yeah,
like, just sick. It's
it's
okay,
amazing.
but you know what, my friend? We've been talking for a very long
We
time,
have. We should
and
stop talking.
and and I can see that my editor is going to hang me if we keep going,
We
and
should
so
we should we should bring it to a close.
yeah,
But
this
yes,
has been absolutely fantastic and lovely chat, and I really,
and
really
it's
enjoyed this, actually. I mean, if I didn't, I would not have let you go for nearly 2 hours. Um,
your editor's going to be why is this British lady keep talking?
and this is one of the few episodes I think that really wish that I had a video component so that you could see all of our nods and gestures and hands and things, because we were definitely animated.
So
But
animated.
but,
Uh,
if folks wanted to find you or read your stuff or participate in your study, where could they go?
Twitter's probably the best place. So I am at Sahar Mirhadi on Twitter, and then Sahar Mirhadi in of Discord. I'm on Discord. You just put Sahar Mahadi in, social media. You can find me. And yes, I am currently running a study looking at gaming during difficult life experiences. We have got over 120 responses already, which is amazing for actual research.
Yeah,
And which is actually 120 people decided to like write their life stories and how games help them. So that's
that's
going well.
lovely.
So that is lovely. So hopefully by the time this comes out, this we should still have a couple of days left on the data collection. And then yeah, just other than that, find me. We're talking about legacy, magic generally, my cat, my research, or wrestling. These are the five things you come for. So yeah, that's it basically. But thank you so much for your time, Shivam. Thank you for this great conversation.
Oh, it was lovely, I loved it.
I loved it
Uh,
too.
yeah, this is hella fun. I mean, it's always fun to talk to people who are super into the thing they're talking about because that's the kind of conversation that I enjoy participating in. Because
Me
it's like,
too.
look, you're passionate. I want a piece of that. That is my energy. So this is absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. And again, my friends, if you want to find me, you can find me at Gearapuri Gears. You can find this show anywhere podcasts are sold, or at Cool Stuff Inc. on Tuesdays, or at YouTube on Thursdays. Thank you, EK. And remember, my friends, it is not magic without the gathering, and we will see you next time.